Well, I want to start this year because I don't even know if you know this story, Jack. So I'm reading your book right now, and the game of golf has given you so many like hilarious stories. But I think my favorite is, I think it's chapter 1. This is the first time you leave St. Louis, go to LA, and yeah, maybe just tell Jack again. I don't know if he knows the story, like your first experience being out in LA, being at was it Bel Air Country Club?
Bel Air Country Club. One of the coolest places you could ever go to this day. It's uber expensive. It's probably $500,000-$700,000 to join. And I mean, guys, imagine this. So back in 1979, I get the scholarship to UCLA. I'm the fourth of 5 kids. My parents kiss me at the curb at Lambert, and I'm going to LA, and I don't know one person. And they're like, good luck. And if you did that today, someone would probably report you. It's like child abuse, but it's like it was just a simpler world back then, So I get into LAX, and you guys, I got a suitcase this big. I got 2 pair of shoes. One of them's golf shoes and golf clubs, and that's all I have. And there's no phone. There's no internet. There's nothing. You have a phone on the wall, where you have to run to the other room to get. It's just an entirely different world. And I get some guy who I don't know. Somebody's going to pick me up at LA, but I don't know anybody. I met the coach on my recruit trip, but that was months ago. So I'm just standing out in LAX, which is, I don't know if you guys have flown into LAX before, but it's a mildly terrifying airport. There's very little English. English is just like the 6th or 7th most spoken language out there, So I'm standing out there and I'm just waiting for some guy to pick me up, and he guy pulls up in the car and says, hey, are you Jay Delsing? I'm like, yes, sir. And I'm like, I'm here to pick you up and take you to, where you're living. I'm like, cool. So again, I don't know LA. I've been there one other time, and it's just massive, and there are people everywhere, crowds, traffic. And he stops at the biggest house I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I grew up in North County, you guys, and it is small, 1,000 square foot house, 1 bathroom, 5 of us kids, parents. This is a mansion. And so I'm not saying anything because I'm thinking he's got to make another stop or something. And he turns the car off, and I'm kind of looking at him, and he hands me an envelope and a key, and he goes, this is where you're living. I'm like, come on. I'm like, there's got to be somewhere to stay. I think I'm going to the dorms. He's like, nope, this is where you're living. This is a home owned by Mrs. McCulloch. She's not here right now. You're giving me a key to this. This house in 1979 has to be worth $10 million. It's probably worth $50 million now. The address is 555 Perugia Way in LA. You can Google it, Google Earth it. It's crazy because it backs up to the night tee of the country club. I mean, I'm living on the golf course, swimming pool, tennis courts, the whole deal. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Nobody's home. I have instructions on feeding these 3 dogs. I'm like, wow. And my parents are not calling to check in. They're like, just get yourself settled and let's know what happens. So this is where I'm living, which just blows me away. I mean, I have my own walk-in closet, my own shower. It's like stupid. But about 10 days or 2 weeks into the thing, our coach calls and he says, bring your clubs and come on up. I want to watch you hit some putts. So I walk up the hill and walk right out the backyard, walk up the hill, and I'm on the putting green just hanging out in LA. And I'm like, the views are awesome. You can see Sunset Boulevard. You can see UCLA from there. And all of these, imagine the homes on Bel Air. It's like insane. They were multi-million back in 79. So they're tens of millions now. And I get this tap on my shoulder in this kind of an unusual accent. It says, young man, would you care to play 9 holes of golf with me? And I turn around and it's Sean Connery. Now, James Bond in 1979, you guys, and this is way before you were born for sure, but he's the baddest ass in Hollywood. He is. So in the book, I don't know if you enjoyed this in the book, but whenever I'd run into a celebrity, we'd do like a little tail of the tape for them. We'd say, Sean Connery, 6'3", 159 pounds from Edinburgh, Scotland, former Mr. Universe contestant. His movies have grossed over $3 billion or something like that, And so anyways, I was like, oh no, sir, I'm not a member. I can't play golf. He's like, you're part of UCLA golf team? And I go, well, yeah. And he goes, well, it's fine. I just checked in the golf shop. You can go. So he didn't go get a cart, go get a caddy. He throws his clubs on his shoulder and we walk off the first tee. And I'm like, what? So guys, I have no life experiences, no nothing. I don't even know what to ask him, And we're going down the first tee, and it was like after 4 holes, he's like, "Would you quit calling me Mr. Connery? Just call me Sean." And I'm like, "Okay, Sean, whatever. Like, we're best friends now." And I'm like, I remember asking him specifically, "Do you like LA?" And he's like, "Oh, LA's a shithole." And I'm like, "It is?" I'm thinking it's pretty, I just got out here. I'm thinking it's sunny, it's beautiful, the UCLA campus. And I'm like, okay, so LA sucks. So we're going along. Long story short, we get to the 9th hole and it's really getting dark. I mean, we're 4 feet away from each other. We can't see each other well. And I said, "Sean, let's play the back 9. And he goes, "Well, Jay, I can't see my ball." I go, "I know, but this is the coolest day I've ever had in my life. I don't want it to end." And he goes, "Well, how about coming in for a couple beers with me?" And I'm 18. I'm like, I'm down. Let's go. So you guys, you walk off the 9th green at Bel Air and you walk to your left and then you go into a tunnel. So Bel Air has a series of tunnels on the course because it's a canyon style golf course. So they just drilled right into the hills and there's tunnels. And so I'm following him because I've only been in this. I've only played the course one other time. He presses the button, the elevator comes, picks us up. Now this is all new. I'm in the elevator going into the men's locker room. I'm like, "Sean," he goes, "put your clubs over here." So I'm following him like a little puppy. I'm just going around like this is. So he runs into a couple buddies of his as we're walking into the men's grill and he introduces me to them. He just says, "This is Jay Delsing from the UCLA golf team. And nice to meet you, sir. Nice to meet you, sir." But I'm like, dude, I got Sean Connery right here. I'm going to have a beer with Sean Connery. This is cool. So anyway, they say a couple of pleasantries. I say, "Nice to meet you." We walk, turn the corner, and he stops me and he goes, "You should probably pay attention to those guys because they're going to do some amazing stuff in Hollywood." And it was George Lucas and Steven Spielberg. And so what we did for them was like, Steven Spielberg, how many Emmys and, net worth of like $8 billion, whatever it was. And George Lucas, the same thing. But the bottom line was we got to just hang out there with Sean Connery. And then the last part of the story is he said, and I guess I don't know anything. I mean, I don't know anything now, but at least I know I don't know anything. Back then, I kind of thought I knew. I know nothing. He says, "Do you know who Barbara Walters is?" And I go, "Yeah," because I'm dumb and I don't know who she is. But I don't want to act like totally, stupid in front of him. So he goes, "Well, you're going to enjoy this because she's interviewing me this Saturday and you should watch." And I'm like, "Okay. Cool." So I go back to Mrs. McCulloch. So she's back home and I go, "Mrs. McCulloch, do you know some chick named, Barbara Walters?" She goes, "Of course, she's the most famous ABC interviewer of all time." And I said, "Well, I just got finished playing golf with Sean Connery." He goes, "Isn't he a nice man?" I'm like, Sean Connery too. And I go, he's gonna be on Barbara Walters' show this Saturday. So we watch it. You can YouTube this. Right in the middle of the show, they're having interaction and it's cool. And he says, "Every good woman deserves a slap every now and again." And I went, and you can Google it. It's like it's a real thing.
Iconic interview he's ever given. It's like, yeah.
So that's how the whole UCLA experience started, you guys. And the game of golf has just provided for me. So I appreciate you reading the book, but it's really a testimony to golf. It really is, because golf is a uniter. Golf is a societal powerhouse. Golf raises money. Golf does so many good things, and it also gets us exercise. It gets us competitive juices. It gets us we need mental acuity to play. So golf's, you guys have some cool people on your show. I'm the luckiest guy you've had on your show because golf found me when I was young, and it's still got a hold of me, and I hope it just doesn't ever let go because it's just been awesome.
Yeah, there's an interesting societal understanding of golf, that it's a little higher society. It's the barrier to entry is hard, but you coming from North County of St. Louis to that has to be a significant culture shock, a significant jolt. Does that kind of almost, power to some degree, get to your head at that moment, or how are you integrating into such high society?
Yeah, it's interesting because if you want to piss me off, just have a conversation about telling me that golf's a game for rich kids, because it's not. But that's the common misconception, because it's not. You can buy a set of clubs for your kids today for under $100 and then go play golf all day long in a muni course for $20 or something. It's not. You go to a movie and you're going to spend $40 on grub and the ticket. So that's the thing that for me, you guys, what it did was it just expanded my boundaries exponentially really fast. So now all of a sudden I was in this, so I started caddying over at Norwood, and I'm caddying for these men that are businessmen and successful people and whatever they are. Don't make sure that the folks know that doesn't mean they're better people. I had that misconception like, oh, you've made more money or you're a part of this club, so no. They can be unkind and they can be assholes over there too, right? And I learned that. I was putting them on like an artificial pedestal and then I saw things and I'm like, So my eyes were open. It took a while because I'm not that bright, but my eyes were really open. And so it's basically like the term drinking from a fire hose. It was like I'm taking in all this information while at the same time, you guys, I'm starting to play myself. And all of a sudden my play just went like this. And I started from, shooting 100. And all of a sudden in 2 years, I'm breaking par, but it's because I did it. So, I spent so much time by myself and I loved it. And I was really purposeful in a strange way back then because I needed to go to college. My parents told me I'm going to college, but I knew they couldn't pay for it. So that was like, how am I going to do this? So I'm not going to them to ask them for money, but I am going to go to college and get a degree. So the first thing that I saw was I'm going to get some sort of athletic scholarship. But it was me doing it, not my parents pushing me. My parents, and this is really important for those folks that watch this and think they want their kid to have a scholarship. You don't. I promise you don't. Today's a totally different world now with NIL, and there's so much money involved in it. But the universities own you when you get these things.
How so?
You're told what to do. You don't take a day off. You don't say, I guess you could fake an injury, but I wasn't smart enough to think of that. And I liked it. So you don't get to skip the weight room. You don't get to skip the fitness portion. You don't get to skip class because if you're not eligible, you don't get to play. So this was it's a lot. It's a lot. And being a parent now and being a parent of 4, my third daughter came out totally different. Just completely different than the other 2. Wanted one thing all the time, excessive rate, wanted to focus on it, was hyper-focused on it, was really athletically gifted as a young person. She'd play soccer when they were, in first grade, where it's like swarm ball. And she learned that if I just pushed the ball ahead of the swarm, she scored 9 goals in one game. So she just was different than the other girls, And so that's kind of where I probably was on that spectrum too, because we played all the sports in the seasons changed, we'd go. We'd play football. I played soccer. I played basketball when it snowed. When the sun came back out, we played baseball and we played golf. It was like, I didn't know where my golf clubs were in the winter. The season changed, we changed. And that was really healthy, really healthy. But these colleges and stuff, it's like, we're going to get my kid a scholarship. And sometimes I think it's this futility that the parents experienced and didn't live up to maybe their own hopes and dreams and standards. And that's really jacked up to throw that on your kids. That's probably for a different topic. But those were some of the things that I was dealing with. And I was just one of these kids that I couldn't get enough. And I was competitive, whether it was in school at St. Louis U High or on the basketball court I was just competitive. I wanted to compete. I wanted to kind of add up, and I wanted to.
Is that nature or nurture? What is that? Can you create that?
I don't think you can create it. So I used to coach my daughter's basketball teams, and we get in the car on the way home, and we lost every game for the first year. And my one daughter would say to the other, "Did we have 44? Did we have 22?" And my third daughter, who's the competitive one, said, "Are you kidding me? You don't even know how many points your team scored?" She'd just go on. I'm like, "Brandon, take it easy." These guys, because they just didn't care as much. So you can't make them. I don't think you can make them. I think there's to a degree it can be enhanced, Jack, but I think it's in there.
Because this gets into more of the philosophical realm of, are some people just doomed to not be competitive? It feels like being competitive is, as one of God's chosen people, and I say that kind of lightly and existentially, right? I don't mean it exactly, but feels like, okay, well, if I don't have that competitive nature in me, I mean, what are we supposed to do with that life?
Well, and I think what happens is that we're all born with gifts. Just because you're not competitive doesn't mean you're not gifted. It doesn't mean you don't bring something to the party. It just means you may not be a leader in that category. And look, not everybody can lead. I think one of the things where we've gotten ourselves screwed up societally is that, like, I'm a huge female supporter in all aspects, sports, life, business, everything. But I don't want to be a girl. And my daughters don't want to be men. You know what I mean? And my daughters want a man to hold the door for them. But they don't, you know, so there's this whole, we're not equal. Listen, let me say that differently. We're not the same. You know, and when you start talking about equality, everybody judges that differently, you guys. So we get into these arguments that have no answers. They have no answers. And they're stimulating, but at the end of the day, sometimes we're not anywhere closer to finding truth or an answer than when we started. And so we wind up chasing our tail a little, I think. So I think that's, you know, because my daughters are all in the business world and they're really, really successful. I'm so proud of them. And there were struggles though still. And I said, look, it's going to be hard or else it's not going to be valuable. It's also not worthwhile. You don't have any value for stuff, guys, if it's dumped on your lap and say, hey, here's a business and congratulations, you just have this Fortune 500 company. You'd be like, what are you talking about, man? I didn't do anything. Same for, yeah, you know what I mean? So there's got to be joy and value in the struggle, right? That's how you find out what value is. That's how you really learn who you are, who we are, who are we in this struggle? Dude, you've got to be able to pick yourself off the mat. How many times? Doesn't matter. As many as it takes. Some people maybe only get, punched in the nose 3 times. Maybe some. I mean, I know that happened in the front 9 for me. I was always feeling like my golf was so unpredictable, and some days were good and other days were just so bad. I felt like there was always this, come on, tomorrow's going to be okay. So, and so I think when you go to that competitiveness, there's other skills that someone who's maybe not competitive can bring to the table, like organizational things or things that, so you have a leader who's in the front that may need to delegate, and those folks bring tremendous value to the team by other means, I guess. That's the way I see it.
Definitely. For you, for those who don't know, Jay, you went pro 1984?
1983, yeah, 1984, yeah.
84. Okay, so you are in a class of very elite golfers. For you, where was that moment where you're like, man, I can really do something here with golf?
It was somewhere in college, but when I got out to LA, I'm like, how am I going to do this? I don't hit the ball straight. I hit it a mile, but I don't hit it straight. So I very seldom hit fairways. And now I'm playing with Corey Pavin my senior year in high school. Pavin was the college player of the year. He won 8 tournaments. He was the best player on our team. As we were coming in, we had 2 other All-Americans. And you guys, just from being competitive and watching and just wanting, I came out there and I just started playing great. I started playing better than I thought possible. Now, my game was on a really nice progression. I was making U.S. amateurs and I was qualifying for stuff. And so my game was, and I was pretty confident. But out there, the golf courses were demanding. I had never seen golf courses this hard, and I didn't know them like the upperclassmen did. So I knew I had to. So I would sneak out the backyard and play the Bel Airs because we played it twice a week. I played it all the time, try to figure it out. Like where can I hit it on this hole? Where so it was once. So my freshman year, I bet the first 3 months of the year, somehow or another, I beat everybody. I was the number 1 player on the team, and it was kind of staggering, really. As I look back on it now, I didn't really think that much about it, but it was pretty cool. And then the last half of my freshman year was a downward decline because I was homesick. I didn't know I wasn't taking care of myself. All of the fun things as I ran my car into the ditch finally caught up to me, as they should have. And so it was the process of trying to learn. Look, there's no parents around. You got to take care of yourself. You got to stay out late, or you got to get up and work out and then go hit balls. What do you got to do? Because they don't know, no matter how old you are, some of the stupid things we did didn't make you want to get up in the morning. So it was between my freshman and sophomore year where I started figuring out, I'm like, I'm pretty good. I don't know how good, because going to the next level is a big step. Going from high school to college is big. Going to college to pro is insane, And then my third year, I made a change in my swing. I lengthened my clubs. I changed the way the club traveled, and all of a sudden, man, I could shoot 65 on any course. It was unbelievable. It was so my junior year, I don't know, I was a first team All-American. I won 3 times. They were the biggest tournaments that we had played. It was just this whole new world opened up. It was really exciting. Every week I played, you guys, I walked out feeling like I'm gonna win this. Like, I don't care what Pavin shoots, I'm gonna win this. And we had a big rivalry between the two of us as we were just on the same team. But like at the Pac-10s, he won the tournament and beat me by 5, and I was ahead of the third place guy by 4. So I beat all the rest of the field by 4, but he beat me, and I was pissed. But it was fun. We were also celebrating together because the team won the event by like 45 strokes. I mean, it was a rout. So that's when it started sinking in. Like, I think I could do this. The All-American thing really was a feather in my. It's something I always wanted to accomplish, and then it hit, and it was. I got to tell you, it was a little disillusioning too. I was like, is that all it is? Yeah. You get a nice trip to New York, and they give you a trophy, and then you're like, now what? You're like, oh, okay, that's it. Now you got to go do it again.
How many now whats have you had in your life? Like, what's your most recent now what?
It was when COVID. So guys, in 1992, I started a entertainment hospitality business on the PGA Tour. We would play pro-ams every week, and the guys would pay somewhere between $3,000 and $10,000 each to play with us. And all my pro friends hated them. And I'm like, I love these. I'm going to love these things. I made business cards. I took business cards. I wrote notes to these guys. And I said, if you need anything in golf, I'm your guy. And then the next year I got calls. Hey, can you put this together for us? And I love that side of the game. I love the business side of it and stuff. So shoot, you guys. And by the year 2000, 2005, I was doing 30 outings a year, making, $7,000-8,000 a day before I even teed it up on tour, doing outings around events. So like, we'd be coming to Canada to play at Toronto, and I'd do an event on the Monday with some customers, and then give them tickets to the event. They'd come out, watch me play, and I just kind of cookie cutted that around the country. It's not really cookie cut because everything's so different, but that's what I started doing. And then COVID killed that business. Nobody started traveling, no business travel, no nothing. And so I opened with a friend. I opened a wine bar that Jack I talked to you about. It was in Town and Country, Isaiah, and it was called Wild Crush, and it was really cool. And right about that time, I started my Golf with Jay Delsing series, my radio show and stuff like that. That's right around that time, because I was like, okay, so this business, all my friends, the CEOs, my connections, all said, don't worry, we're going to do this again. It hasn't worked that way, and it's not their fault, and I didn't expect it to, because what they saw was they were able to keep their revenues high without spending all this money in entertainment, and so why would you? You know what I mean? And so I think the thing that I've learned too, you guys, is change. The only thing that we really count on is change, and these things don't stay the same forever. People don't stay the same forever. Life happens. You get zigs and zags in the room. Sometimes your partner zags and you zig, and like, can you come back together, or is that a game changer? And sometimes it is, and it sucks, but it's part of life, and people, look, I'm not nearly the same person now at 65 as I was at 30, just not. And I have different values. I have different, and if you'd have told me that at 30, I'd be like, God, what are you talking about? It's not even close. You know what I mean? So the changes, so the Golf with Jay Delsing was the thing. I'm like, I'm aging. I can't compete anymore, but I want to stay involved in golf. And then ESPN, as the universe works, as you guys know, came out, asked me to do this, and I'm like, I'm not doing it the way you want to do it. I'm going to do this if I own it. And they're like, nah, we're not doing it that way. I'm like, okay, I'm not interested. And they came back and forth, and they kept coming back. I said, guys, I'm not doing it. And then they finally acquiesced, and I wound up buying it. So I own the show. So now I own the all of it. So I do the ads, I do everything on it. And again, it's that business side of it that I really like. The golfing, talking about golf and stuff like that. That was the most recent, is like, I got to figure something out. And if I do this little golf show the way I want to do it, where it's more of a variety hour, like if I had you guys on, I want to talk about like so have you played any golf lately? And you'd be like, I never played. Okay, we're going to talk about why you need to play. Or you're going to say, hell yeah, I played. And what was your experience like? And what was the 19th hole like afterwards? You don't have to drink beer. You can go drink a Coke, whatever. But the interaction, the unification that golf brings to the table, it's badass, and it's not like any other sport. You're not going to do that in football. You might do it in basketball, but what happens is you get older guys, nobody can do that stuff anymore.
You can't play basketball in your
like,
70s.
Basketball sucks. It's too hard. Yeah, I got to run up and down now. And so,
yeah. So what are the examples of that what you can do in that sport that you can't do in any others? As far as being with someone for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And so on.
First of all, Jack, the coolest thing that we have over everybody else is like on the PGA Tour, someone's going to get to play with Scotty Scheffler this week. When is anybody going to be able to shoot hoops with MJ or LeBron or Steph or any of those cool dudes? Doesn't happen. You're not going to have tennis with Djokovic. It just doesn't happen. So that's the differentiator with golf, is that you get to play. I would tell my friends, when I was playing all the time, I go, I bet you guys wanted to get Tiger, and now you got me. I'm like, that's got to be really disappointing. And they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, it's okay. You could say it's and I said, but in my mind and my heart, I wanted to make this the best golf day for them ever. So I balled out. I would read their putts. I told you I took all their information to help them with their game. I wanted them to come away going, golf's great, man. I can't wait to do this again. Instead of getting a pro that doesn't talk to them and is looking at their watch or on their phone all day, and that wasn't me.
This falls in very much in line with like the theme of this show. So we really like going into this literal details and the specifics of that. You'd read their putts. So what were you seeing that the experiences that they were getting that weren't as great versus like, how did you take that and then go, I'm going to apply these specific things to make it an exceptional experience?
Yeah, so I was on the PGA Tour Policy Board or the Advisory Council for probably 18 years of my career. And so I got to see all the business workings, get all the information. And it's so funny. There was a common thread that as a young player would come on tour and stick and start playing well, and then attend the meetings. And their first thing was like, how do we get rid of these pro-ams? And I'm like, you keep playing well and we'll keep the business intact, because that'd be like business suicide to get rid of the pro-ams. It'd be like cutting our heads off. It would be like, now go ahead and try to do something while it's your head attached to your body. That's how bad that is, you guys. And so, but they just, they didn't want to take the time to play with the amps. They didn't want to. They thought it was below them. They thought it was, and I'm like, wait a minute, these are the reason why we're playing for so much money. And now the money that we played for, I didn't play for a lot of money in my career until the very end when Tiger came, but the money, even the big money that we played for when Tiger got there that we thought was so big, it's times 6 or 8 now. So that's why. And so you go out and buy a driver and it's $800 or $900. Who's paying for that? These guys that are signed up to play in the Pro-Am are the guys that are paying for that. And that's why they need to be taken care of, because they're our customers. And they're also constituents because they love the game. It was a no-brainer to me. It took a lot of energy, but I was like, I'm going to be out here anyway. It's not that hard to be nice, And some days were better than others, but for the most part, I always took their business cards. I always wrote them a nice little handwritten note afterwards. And so it wasn't an email. It was on some nice stock signature cards and stuff. And I always put my business card in there and said, like, dude, anything you need, let me know. I'm your golf guy. What do you need? You need to go on a trip. You want to, and I mean, so many, how many times they sent an airplane for me? It's pretty cool. I didn't know it was going to work out like that, but they're like, well, no, we'll come down and pick you up in the jet. I'm like, what? Yeah. It was pretty, yeah. And that's back in the day, guys. There weren't that many private jets around. You know what I mean? But the corporations and some of the corporations I did with, man, especially in the steel business, you guys, they must print cash because they spend it. It was fun. But that's kind of what it's like. I mean, I had a guy say to me, I may have said this to you guys when we had lunch a couple of weeks ago, but I had a guy say to me, yeah, tennis is kind of the same way. And I'm like, really? How so? And he goes, well, like, you know, my wife and I love to play tennis together. And I said, where's the coolest place you ever played tennis? And he goes, oh, I know exactly where it was. We went on this great trip, and it was like in Bermuda, and the tennis courts were right out on the water, and it was so cool. And I go, what were the dimensions of the court? He's like, yeah, they were, you know, what I don't even know what they are, but he did. And I said, and that's the same dimension that you play when you come home. But when there's no two golf holes that are alike, period. There's no two places that are alike, period. And you also, then you have the crazy, you know, Mother Nature weighing in and making the experience unforgettable sometimes, you know, beautiful or horrible. Both are unforgettable. And that's what's cool and difficult about the game. You know, you're outside and you're in it. You know, you're in it. You know what it's like when when the wind's blowing and you're trying to go here and the wind wants to take you that way. Like, how the hell am I going to get over there? The other thing that's cool about golf, you guys, it's a mind-body experience, man. You're playing against the 6 inches here, or in my case, probably 12 inches because my head is so big. But that's the competition. That's how you learn about yourself. You know, you're like, who do I blame when I play bad golf? That's what you guys, probably the coolest thing that I look back that I appreciate about the game more than anything is that if you shot 70 and you shot 71 and I shot 72, I finished third every day. I didn't get an extra shot because my coach is important or I'm taller than you and the wind was and so in order to improve was obvious. How to get there wasn't, but the fact that you needed to was. You won. I don't care whether you made all the putts today and I didn't. I don't care if I couldn't hit my driver and you got 3 lucky bounces. Doesn't matter. What'd you shoot? And in life, that simplicity, I really appreciate that as I get older.
Yeah, there's so many good lessons in golf. I think one of the many that you taught me is just how good golf is as a networking tool. It's like how else are you going to get 4 hours of someone else's time, right, and see how they handle stress and winning and losing and things like that. And as far as opportunities to meet people who are out there like doing things as well is very powerful. It seems like.
Oh my gosh, you can it's a glimpse into their soul, the way they handle themselves on the golf course. Do they count all their strokes? Do they get mad? Do they throw? And if you're just out having a recreational round, wondering, can we put this business deal together? And now all of a sudden, this guy doesn't count his strokes. You're gonna pay attention to that more than anything. It'll hit you like, wow. You want to talk about like a red marker going out? Like this is a red flag. Yeah, you can really tell a lot about people through it. It's neat.
Yeah, I can tell a lot about people from like golf, and then also it's like just getting a meeting with them, right? Like who's going to turn down like, playing golf all paid for, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's an invitation where everything is so impersonal in our world today, you guys. And that's the part that's not better than the old days. The old days, a phone call was a very low level in terms of ranking how you're communicating. A phone call was low level. Now a phone call's insane. Nobody takes phone calls. I mean, if you call somebody like, why are you calling me? Why didn't you text me? Why didn't you email me? I'm like, dude, because I don't want to let confusion. And I want to hear some inflection. I want to, it's just another level. For me, you guys, it's just another level of ways to connect. So I've got a better chance of jiving with you, so we're going to vibe. You get the sense. Maybe you had a bad night, you upset stomach, you got sick, food poisoning, whatever. It all rubs off. You got a text, you're like, I didn't know you had a bad night last night, But when you send that invitation out, it's a totally different sort of request. It's a totally different sort of request. And time is our most precious and valuable asset, you guys. And getting in front of the right people to do the things you want to do in life, that's the biggest challenge. There's so many gatekeepers. There's so many, oh my gosh, when I was younger, it was like, are you the decision maker or not? You know, I finally like, who decides this? Because I thought I was with a guy and I was 3 levels away from that guy. And I'm like, oh, I'm never getting this done. You know, it's like roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. And then, you know, you can spend 2 years and go, I'm still 3 levels away, you know? So being able to figure out who that person, who he or she is, that's even probably more important than the ask.
How'd you figure that out? How would you go about figuring that out?
You know, that's a great question, because the bigger the company, the more layers there are, right? The bigger the company, the more resources they typically have. The bigger the company, the more red tape, you know? So it's that catch-22. You want somebody, let's say you're trying to put a project together and maybe just raise money for St. Louis. Like we just got $7 million donated to the Normandy Reimagined Fund by Emerson. Emerson is a global multi-billion-dollar company, but they're a community sweetheart. They love to get involved, you know. But getting that done was sloggy. It was, and I didn't get it done, but I was behind the scenes, you know, trying to help everybody figure it out because I've got some friends over there. But it was sloggy. I mean, and then, guys, the crazy thing is, we get the commitment. We know it is. We can't tell anybody. We got to sit on it for over a year. Oh, that was so hard because, you know, you get that momentum and you're like, hey, man, Emerson just gave us X. What do you, can you come up with like just a little something, you know? And we think that'll happen, but we're just now trying to use that as kind of a springboard to try to get more community and corporate support in there.
Yeah, and golf is, if I remember correctly, like the best sport as far as like fundraising goes. Or like raising money,
close.
Not even close.
The PGA Tour raises more money every year, Isaiah, than NBA, NHL, Major League Baseball, and NFL combined.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because that's the way our tournaments are designed. So, for example, when the BMW comes to St. Louis in 2026, it'll be at Belle Reve, and they're going to raise all this money, and half of the money they raise will stay here. And then the other half goes to the Evans Scholarship, Jack, which I know you're really from. The Evans Scholarship, for folks that aren't listening, if you have a granddaughter, grandson, or a child, you can get your college paid for. You can get your college paid for. If college is your bag, they've got empty beds that are not being used out at University of Missouri. There's 24 universities around the country you can go to, and they pay for housing and room and board and your tuition, and people don't even know it's there. But that tournament goes to fund that thing that a guy named Chick Evans started back in 1930. So we're approaching the 100-year anniversary. But guys, they give away like, I don't know what the number is. It's like $20-something million worth of tuition and room and board every year. Yeah. It doesn't matter what color you are. It doesn't matter what sex you are. It doesn't matter what, you know, you're 4'1" or 8'2". Doesn't matter. None of it matters. It's just, you got to have caddy. You got to have, you have to show a financial need, and you've got to have good grades. I mean, so one of the things we're trying to do on my show when you talk about, you know, helping the St. Louis community is, nothing pisses me off more than having our University of Missouri beds at the Evans House filled with kids from Chicago and kids from Iowa. Now, good for them, but not good for us. You know, this only helps our community. We need those kids to go down there and get a free education. College is expensive. Stupid. It's actually really stupid.
Why have you stayed in St. Louis? Theoretically, you could go anywhere in the world.
That's a great question. Yeah, I never thought I would. When I was your age, no way. Never thought I would. I had some unfinished business with my parents, both kind of in, let's say, relationally. When I went to UCLA, I got engaged as I graduated, and my wife and I were looking around, like where we got to live. We didn't want to travel on the West Coast to the PGA Tour, because the PGA Tour, and it still doesn't. It doesn't go out past Denver after the first 6 weeks of the year. So that time change out there is a killer on your body and stuff. So, and it's and California is ridiculously expensive to live, and it was then. So we looked at Denver, we looked at Dallas, and we looked at St. Louis because they were central. We weren't Florida people at the time, And Florida could have saved us a bunch of money because of state tax, but we just didn't do that. Texas, we could have, doesn't have state tax as well. But we wound up here. TWA was alive and well, and so we flew everywhere direct. TWA had a great network, lousy planes, kind of an older everything. But I had some friends there, and so we wound up coming back here. But as I look back on it now, I think the reason that I kind of push for that is because I had some just some personal growth that I needed to do around my parents and some of the crazy that I was brought up with. You know what I mean? That I thought was normal. And as I got older, there's nothing weirder in your life than when one of the things that you hold really dear is challenged. And you're like, well, we know that two people both can't be right. Where do we go from this thing? And, you hold your parents up on pedestals and things like that. And for me, they were artificial because my parents were not right. And it's not like they did anything wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm not throwing them under the bus. I had great parents. But, the one thing you don't get to do is choose your parents. And all of us may need something different than we might get. And I'm a parent, and I've already told my daughters, I'm sure I'm going to disappoint you in some areas. I'm doing the best I can. I've read every damn book I can, but it doesn't help. You still don't know how to handle these situations as they come along. So I just hope you'll forgive me, and we'll keep moving on together, learning together, growing together, moving together, trying to figure it out together. My intentions are good. My execution's not always, that's just the way it goes. And so, the generation with my parents, you guys, they didn't talk. They'd have one thing that was never asked me, how are you doing and what do you think? It was like get in the car and shut up. That's kind of how it was. And guess what we did? We got in the car and we shut up, especially being fourth of five. Like nobody asked what I wanted, how I felt, what do you think? How are you doing? It's like, get in, let's go.
That's actually how you got into golf, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Your sister was a lifeguard at a Gulf Country Club. You're like, I guess we're just going here, and then
Yep. I don't like to swim that much.
Was that Norwood or?
No, it was North Shore. It's not even around anymore. It's right at Riverview and 270, guys. It was really a dump, but we didn't know. What's weird is like, not that we were poor because we weren't poor, but we definitely were not well off, and I didn't know. So you get to this golf course, and now I just get to play golf. So I would save all my money for $200, which was a lot of money back then, but you got to play all you wanted every single day. So that was the key thing. So I'd save all my money. We get this thing done. And so then I would just get tired of swimming. I don't know. Like my kids could swim for 5 or 6. I was like, I'm just tired of it. And so there's a golf course right next door. So I just jumped the fence. I started looking for balls. And my dad took me to play one time. And I know I bugged the hell out of him to take me. And then it was just like wherever my sisters went, I sometimes I'd ride my bike down there, and I just start whacking balls. Literally just started trying to hit it. Weird. I mean, kids really don't do much of that anymore, especially nowadays because there's so much structure around everything. Guys, we had a ton of we had a ton of freedom. There was like a neighborhood watch back in the day. Like our houses were so small, you couldn't hang out in your house. It was like a place to shower occasionally for my brother and I. We probably should have showered way more, but eat, sleep, and then get out. And it was just understood. It was just understood. And so we'd roam the neighborhoods. We'd be on our bikes. We'd have our gloves on our handlebars. We'd have hockey sticks through the thing. We were just whatever. And then, you guys, none of us had a watch. We were always home by 5 o'clock for dinner, and it was just all understood. Those were the rules. And, it was kind of like the neighborhood looked out for each other. You know what I mean? You knew you didn't go on that guy's grass because he was kind of a pain in the ass, and he'd call your parents. Like Jay rode his bike across my grass today. We're like, I might have done that on purpose back in the day, just to kind of be an ass.
So that golf course doesn't exist anymore?
No, it's there's a rest stop, and now there's a new gas station. I just drove by there the other day, oddly. And so, yeah, it's not around anymore.
Have you designed a course yet?
I have not. I would love to do that sometime, but I don't know if that'll ever happen, but I'd be open to it. I had an opportunity. A business person was going to do a golf course out west of town, and the business deal fell through.
What part of town?
There were two. There was one out by Six Flags, and then there was one further out 44 in a place called St. Clair. This guy had he owned like 700 acres out there. Yeah, and so but it just never materialized.
Okay, what makes a good golf course?
Well, so you have different skill levels, but I think what makes a good golf course is that every skill level can play it, right? If you design a golf course only for my skill level, that's the wrong way to go about it. That's the wrong way to go about it, because then the guy that's just starting, who's probably, you got to remember, guys, the average handicap for people to play golf is 22. You've seen it, Jack. It's 22. It's just a lot. And so that's the average. So that means there's just as many above 22 as there are below 22. So you've got to be able to make it user-friendly, man. You've got to be able to make it so people are getting some enjoyment out of it, even though they might not be good golfers, you know? And you guys, there's this weirdest thing with golf where you'll go to a guy's course and he'll just go out and just have this day where he just is miserable and shoots like 130, and he's so proud of it because his course is hard. And I'm like, I don't get that. That just sounds like the longest day, man. I don't get that.
Okay, so you don't want to alienate anyone when designing a course. As far as like views, landscaping goes, like do you have any?
Oh yeah, well, Pebble's my favorite because it's like God was the architect. You know, it's like right on the ocean, and you can't. Obviously, there's nothing like that here. You know what I mean? We just don't have the geography. But I'll tell you, some of the stuff that Johnny Morse is doing down in the Branson, Springfield area is world class. This Cliffhangers is this new par 3 he did. It's amazing. Payne's Valley, named after the late great Payne Stewart, who was a Missourian, is awesome. That's one of Tiger's second course, I think, that Tiger designed. So yeah, it's super cool. There's a lot of great golf down there. There's also great golf at Lake of the Ozarks. You know, there's Osage National and Porto Chima. They got courses down there that Arnold Palmer and Jack Nicklaus designed, and so there's lots to offer here.
Man, so yeah, so St. Louis, obviously we can't have the ocean view, but what do you think about like houses like surrounding a golf course? You like that? Do you not like that? Is there a privacy issue there?
I prefer it not. But I mean, you know, sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. Typically nowadays, you guys, when someone builds a golf course, it's usually a housing development deal where the golf course is like a value add to it, where you can also but it's usually a real estate deal. And then, you know, back in the 80s, there was a time where golf's numbers, we were dipping so low that a lot of people sold their courses so people could build houses on it. You know, so most of them are zoned green grass. But you can get the zoning changed, and that all of a sudden that land becomes crazy valuable. That happened at Cherry Hills out here in St. Louis, out in West. You guys probably don't even know that there used to be a country club in the St. Louis district community that was called Cherry Hills, and a guy named Tony Novelli built Country Club of St. Albans, and that 36 holes, that beautiful 8,000 acre development out there, and he swapped memberships with Cherry Hills, and he took Cherry Hills and build homes on it. Yeah, it's cool. I played Cherry Hills a lot, and I had a business relationship with St. Albans for 25 years. So I know those areas well. Yeah, it's super cool. Super cool.
What else? As far as the staff goes, let's say, like what makes an excellent staff on a golf course?
Oh man, you know what it is better than anybody. You embody that like crazy at Norwood. First of all, you've got to be attentive. I think you have to be polite. I think so. When you're staff on the golf course, especially Jack, when we met you were first point of contact. You're an outside staff guy. So when someone drives up in their car, maybe they're a member, maybe not. If it was me, you'd have known me. You'd say hello to me. But maybe I have a guest coming, you know, and all of a sudden, who takes care of my clubs? Where do I go? What do I do? Maybe I've never played here before. That first point of contact is really important. And so you need to have someone that understands that. You know, you don't have to be overly gushy. You don't have to be overly happy, but you've got to be, I think you need to be extremely polite. I think you need to be extremely can-do-ish, meaning what do you need? You need what can I get you for it? Do you have golf balls? Do you need some new shoes? We got everything you need in a golf shop. What do you need? You know, have you ever played here before? Do you know where the putting green is? You know, just those sort of things. Because one of the things that keeps women out of playing that just drives me crazy is that they're intimidated. It doesn't drive me crazy that they're intimidated. It drives me crazy that we haven't softened it up for them. It's not that hard, and we want them playing. I want them playing. but the old boys network-ish has kept them away, and I hate that idea. I'd love to have that blown up before I die. Since everybody plays. I mean, Isaiah, when I played, it's crazy. There were more African-American players playing when I played than there are now, and I don't get it at all. Because Tiger came along and he's half African-American, and it's weird. But then you see this guy, Sahith Theegala, he's Indian descent. His parents, his dad is like from Delhi. So they still have a little accent. I think it's awesome. And because it's just other doors that are open. You guys, when Hideki Matsuyama won the Masters a few years back, it was probably the biggest global impact event ever in the game of golf, because the far eastern part of the world went upside down because they finally had someone from their hood win that tournament. And that's amazing. And I don't know if you got to see this. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in sports was Hideki's. So guys, the player gets a trophy. The player gets a pile of money. The player gets all the accolades. The caddy, he gets a pile of money too, but not as big as the players, obviously. And the caddy gets the 18th hole flag. That's like this thing. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but that is like their thing. That's what they get. So I don't know Matsuyama's caddy. I wish I did, because I'd love to have him on my show. But he's taking so guys, there's a little nut on top of the flag stick that you could just undo with your hand, and you slip the flag out and you put it back on. Now the guys are taking the flag sticks as well. And Augusta's been a little wacky about it, but I think they're letting him. But the cool thing is he did all that, and he walked to the very front of the green and he bowed. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Like, I it was almost like gratitude. The way I took it, it was like, I'm so grateful. I'm honoring the course. I'm honoring you that I got to have my little place in history right now. And I thought that was, really special. So the game, our numbers, you guys, are off the charts. We've got more people playing golf than ever before. It's because there's sim leagues now. There's Pop Stroke, there's Top Golf, there's Putt Shack, there's 5-iron golf. There's all of these super cool ways that you don't necessarily have to go to a golf course to get to enjoy. You can just, grab a few clubs and go have a sandwich at your lunch hour and go hit balls for 40 minutes or something. And the graphics are really, really cool, and they're only getting better every day. And guys, all this is, in my opinion, it's all the Tiger Woods effect. He brought so many eyeballs into the game. He brought so much new creative tech into the game because of the eyeballs and because of the interest.
Yeah, what do you think about the tech? I know with TGL, they're doing sort of like a half course, half like sim. And what do you think about that? Do you think you lose part of the game with that?
They haven't figured out the putting part of the tech yet. And I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure that out, honestly. So what they do with the TGL is they hit into the screen. They're hitting off a grass. They're trying to do it as much like a real round of golf as they possibly can. But then when it comes to putting, how do you do that? So that's a TGL where they go to the special green. They're able to move the green around, and that's really cool. But if you watch, there's a learning curve for those players to figure out how to play off of that turf. I don't know if you watched them pitch early. These guys are world-class players, so they couldn't figure out how to pitch off that turf right away. So it's a different, because your club bounces into that turf a little bit, and when you're in grass, your club will cut through it a little better. This has a little bounce to it, so the ball will have a little bit of jump on it. But they figured it out. It took them a little while, but I don't know how to do the tech. But I just think the more people are watching, the more they see, this whole speed golf thing. I don't know if you saw that. It's cool, right? I mean, if you think some of these guys aren't athletes, I think you learn they are. Now there are certain guys that weren't. Tom Kite was definitely not an athlete, but Dustin Johnson might have been the best athlete that's ever played golf. The guy could two-hand dunk a basketball. He's a great swimmer. I mean, he's just coordinated like that. Because the money, you guys, and the tour is getting up and up and up, we're seeing better athletes playing golf. Longer career, less injury. So actually the jury's still out on the injury thing because the guys are swinging the club so fast that something's going to give.
Yeah, you got people making money, like being influencers now, like doing videos like on YouTube and stuff. So he has a lot of opportunity.
Well, Johnny Morris and Barstool had an influencer event down at Paynes Valley. And they had, I don't know, I mean, it's insane. The I think they had a $1 million purse or something like it. It was crazy. And these are guys that they don't play as well as I do now, but they're this influencer or whatever that is, and they people follow them and listen. It's kind of weird. Like, what makes you an influencer? How about Jake Paul?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I could spend a couple minutes on that, but what were your thoughts watching that fight?
Oh, so disrespectful to anybody that's a professional boxer, and he made $184 million.
That's interesting. I would push back on that and saying that, the sport, the promoters, I'm sure, all respect to the athletes, of course, but they weren't doing. If it got to this point already, they weren't doing their job in the first place to maintain that, level of interaction and interest in the sport itself. So despite Jake's lack of training or whatnot, he's bringing eyeballs to the sport, and that's something that there hasn't been a boxer that could really do that in years and years and years.
Yeah, since Muhammad. I mean, I guess I'm more of a purist in that sense. I mean, so let me ask you this: was that entertainment?
I didn't think so.
I didn't think so.
And we were talking.
It was a sham.
We were talking about the NBA before this, and I think if that were to happen in the NBA and they were playing against influencers or non-professionals, the incentives change. So instead of trying to beat the LA Lakers, let's just not have them score 100 points. Right. So you're gonna have people hold on to the ball, or you have people foul and do all this stuff, and it's like, come on, like what are we doing? Like this isn't pure basketball. Right. And I felt very similarly like watching the fight again. Like hats off for Jake, because I wouldn't even have known about the fight if it wasn't for how great he is as a marketer. But as far as like the actual product, I thought it was I was a little bit disappointed.
Totally agree. In terms of marketing, forget it. Forget it. Give him his money. As a boxer, it's embarrassing. He's not a boxer. And there gets to a point in time, you guys, where it's just, I don't know. To me, he looked like a clown. I mean, in my opinion, this guy could have taken him out in the first round. But because of it's also a marketing, and that's why it was clearly an exhibition to me. This was one huge man.
They need to get their commercials in, their ads need to get in. They need to make it happen.
100%. Yep. And look, that's a whole thing. So you're not going to go down in the first two rounds. And look, they might go to their grave swearing that they didn't, but I'm going to go to my grave swearing you did.
Yeah.
And look, more power to you, whatever. But I guess it's just the weirdest way. So for me, you guys, I get a lot of people that say, yeah, I'm going to play professional golf and play on the Champions Tour. Really? No, you're not. No, you're not. John Brody's the only guy that's really been able to do it. You guys don't even probably know who John Brody is. Quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, was an absolute stud. Came out on the Champions Tour, and he absolutely won a couple events. But, I mean, John Smoltz is a really good guy and a nice player. He's not that good. That's all there is to it. I love baseball. I'm not pitching anytime soon. Because I'm not to their level. Michael Jordan used to say he's going to come out and play in the Champions Tour. I'm like, you're not. You're just not. And so these guys have Tony Romo. It's a joke. I mean, the tour players line up to take Tony Romo's money. They do. I got a couple stories I'll tell you off the air, but it's just one of these things where it's like, come on, guys. You're great at what you did or do, and stay in your lane. It's okay. But the ego gets nuts with that. They're like, well, I'm pretty good at this. I'm like, yeah, you are. You're great at that. But you're not that good at this. I don't think people realize how good PGA Tour golfers are.
Oh, there's no doubt. But to some extent, it probably took that ego for them to get that good at the sport that they're good at, right?
Well, what happens is you get so proficient, and you keep working at your trade and craft, and you're amazing, and then you're rewarded with all this money and all this attention, and then it gets obscured. Like the reality is obscured. Like, I don't know if Jake Paul is the smartest guy I know or the dumbest guy I know. He might be the smartest marketer I know. Standing in the ring, I mean, in my opinion, he got hit once.
Yeah, that's right.
He got hit once, and it was in the 6th round. And if that guy wanted to, he could have taken him out in the first 30 seconds. Jake was so out of shape. I mean, it was like, what the heck, man? But again, smartest guy, dumbest guy, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think because it was so mismatched. Like again, this incentive was not like for Jake. Is like the incentive here is not to win. Like incentive here is all right. How can I just last? Right. And that can completely like ruins the integrity of like the sport. And I think going back to the NBA examples, right? It's like we're here to see who can beat the other person in basketball, not who can see if this team can hold this team under a certain amount of points or whatever. And it's just it gets real messy.
It's kind of like when they do the kicks with Pat McAfee, And you're like, come on, man. If you're a little athletic, you get some guys on there. I mean, he kicked it like straight that way, and it's for $1 million, and that's for fun and, whatever. But it's not like, hey, I'm going to go play in the NFL, Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think about the money? I mean, do you have any trouble with him making that kind of money for that?
I definitely. I mean, I think we're entrepreneurs and like, the market's going to decide what is appropriate to give to someone. It's it takes it takes buy-in en masse for him to even be able to receive that money in the first place.
I think there's some trade-off here. I think you're kind of hurting your brand long term. So it's like if maybe he went all in on like sort of this payday, but will he get the same amount of people tuning in for his next fight just watching that one, knowing like, man, this wasn't really something I wish I would have paid for. So I think it's definitely a trade-off. What I like to think is, I think there is a market for what he's trying to do. I don't know if it is going forward will be as big as this last one.
Well, it's interesting because I had never heard of Joshua before that. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't even boxing. I don't know. I mean, maybe the other boxers thought, why did this guy only fight 34 times? He's 38 years old. I didn't even think of it like that until you mentioned that, Isaiah. So I don't know. I guess if it somehow, like I have a hard time thinking that grew boxing, Jack. Like I'm saying, if someone did that in golf and it brought more people's attention on the game, I'd sign off on it. I have a hard time thinking that helped boxing.
I don't think it did. Like even during the fight, like the ref had to stop him and be like, "Hey guys, like no one paid for this crap. Like take it seriously, whatever." And you had the announcers like, "Yeah, come on," or whatever. So it really seemed like
Jake kept holding the guy's leg. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Yeah.
So again, like trade-offs for sure. It's like I think trade-off he made was like, I'm gonna go for the big names. I'm gonna do this crazy stunt or whatever. I'm gonna make a lot of money. But I think the con is he's definitely gonna lose a little bit of the brand value there for people who truly care about boxing.
Yeah, it won't be boxing anymore. I think the inverse of that is you look at Conor McGregor with the UFC. Now that was done, I think, as about as perfect as it could possibly be in the terms of helping the sport. UFC has exploded after that, but he was a serious contender within that. So he's a master marketer and a very, very high level competitor. And it probably is just going to require that for something like boxing to, pick back up. And I don't know if they'll ever see that again.
Was this last one? It wasn't pay-per-view. It was Netflix. Netflix picked it up. So I wonder what Netflix wound up paying. So that was all part of the package that they put together. Have you seen the numbers on the backside of it?
I haven't yet. No.
How many people tuned in and stuff? I don't either. Interesting. But guys, just from a really old goat point of view, it's crazy what y'all are watching.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, just looking at the people in the crowd, I was like, guys, put your phone away. I've never taken a selfie. Like, I don't need to. I know what I look like. Come on, man. Oh, that's just weird to me. Like, I don't know. What my parents would say to me? You're not that important.
Yeah.
Quit taking a picture of yourself. You're not that important.
Yeah. Does that bother you? Because I do see like a lot of even like now pictures of the last hole in golf are going super viral. Everyone's got their phones out. Then you have that one dude who's just like watching it, and it goes super viral because like, wow, someone's actually like using their own eyes like to watch this event or whatever.
I know. I guess it's. I really don't want to sound like I was born in the 1900s, but it's just odd. I don't know. I think the blend of tech and experience and things like that can be magical. I think you can miss some if you're too much one way or the other, and both sides probably, because there's certain things with tech that are just ridiculous. I mean, if I was playing the PG Tour right now and I could do FaceTime and read my daughter's bedtime story I never got to do anything. We didn't even have cell phones for like the first almost 2/3 of my career. So, gosh, being able to have that FaceTime and why, I mean, it's that extra level of connection. That's cool. So it's probably a double-edged sword. This has probably been going on, you guys, for as long as people have been alive.
Absolutely.
The fight between the young and the old, the new and the old, and all that stuff. So it's probably nothing new.
Well, what's going to be new for you? What do people need to hear about, or what's the most important thing in the world to you right now?
Well, I wrote a book, and that was something I never thought I'd do. It's been really kind of a learning experience. Dealing with Amazon, it's really fun. I call them the cartel on my show because I just can't figure out when they're going to pay me. I've sold over 1,000 books with them, but I haven't seen any money yet. It's just kind of an odd thing. I don't know, man. My brother is my best friend in the world, and he's a couple years younger than I am, and we're trying to figure out what's our next thing. What do we want to do, something that matters? Like, how can we help people? Is it one of the things that intrigues me, you guys, is mental health. It would be really cool if we could get rid of the stigmatism on mental health, where you're like this stigma where you're, Jack, if you sprain your ankle and the doc puts you in a boot and then we go have lunch, I'm like, what'd you do to your ankle? And then you fall and break a finger or something. But if you get a concussion, nobody knows. And then they're looking at you. We got people walking around there that just aren't right. They didn't do anything wrong necessarily. But how do we help them? And how do we identify them? And how, part of the insidiousness of that is when you're in that state of mind, you don't know you need help. And so you're the last person to the party, so to speak. So if there was some way that we could make that less traumatic for people, like they didn't do 99% of them didn't do anything wrong. They've got a chemical imbalance or something is, whatever the stuff we've read about, and I'm not well versed in it, but I wonder about that because I have a lot of friends that take some high-powered meds and things like that for moods and things like that, and I know they didn't do anything wrong, but sometimes they just have bad days, and it's, and these are the folks that are seeing peeps. What about the guys that aren't? When you see homeless people, when you travel, and something's totally upside down in their head, so it'd be, I just don't know how tackling something big like that is, I like the big topics, but then tackling it is monumental. You need a lot of money, but you also need a lot of help.
Ironically, I think golf could be a great platform for this. I think what's partly leading to a lot of the mental health, especially with like younger people, is because they're isolated on their phones all day, and getting outside, walking, exercising, getting in the community, learning a skill, getting good at something. I think that could be really good for a lot of people.
Yeah, amen, for sure. I mean, that's one of the things we try to tell the younger kids. It's like, we got to get you outside. We got to get you outside, and a lot of times, there's not a parent at home, or they just don't have that opportunity. So one of the cool things, you guys, about Jack Nicklaus designing that course in Normandy is that the hardest thing about getting the, say, disadvantaged youth involved in golf is there's not golf around them. Well, golf's around them now. This golf course that Jack Nicklaus donated his $3+ million fees to design this thing. And it's going to be something our community is going to be so proud of for years and years to come. And we want the kids in that neighborhood to be able to ride their bike over there and caddy over there. And we're going to have the first tee and some PGA Reach programming over there where the kids are going to be hanging out. There's going to be a caddy house, an Evans house, where, maybe they can come and do some homework and then go, play 9 holes or something like that. So, I don't know. It's a start. Ozzie Smith is another thing, guys, that we should just touch on briefly, because Ozzie is, first of all, he's a great dude. He is an amazing human being. And second of all, he has taken on golf like you wouldn't believe. This is the guy that won 13 Gold Gloves, 15-time All-Star, all of these accolades, and now he's putting all this effort into golf. He's the president of PGA Reach, which is their charitable arm for youth golf and youth at risk golf and things like that. There's a North County facility up where Carter Carburetor used to be that he's involved with that I want to get involved with, where they're going to build a little golf course and some soccer fields and things like that for the North. Because our North County it needs some help, man. It needs some help. So
Yeah, I didn't know that. They built the Aussie Sports Complex out in O'Fallon where I grew up, so I spent a lot of my childhood there. So I was looking at that.
He's amazing. And the thing that is so cool, and I'm not a racist by any means, but to have Ozzy, who is an African American, be able to talk to those kids that looks more like them than I do, is unreal. Because their cred just goes like they're going to just listen to him more than they'll listen to anyone. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way, I was this Hall of Fame shortstop too. He's just got a huge heart and a big heart for the community. He's another guy. He could live anywhere.
That all sounds fantastic. I'm excited for St. Louis. I'm excited for golf. excited for everything that you've got cooking up, Jay. I really appreciate your time today.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Thanks for having me on, boys. Anytime. I'm a lifer here.
Amen.
I'm gonna get my butt out of this cold weather for a few months pretty soon. But I'll always have a place here. It'll always be home. And if there's a way that we can make it better, man, we're not that far off. But you have to start, right? Just start somewhere. And I think that's super cool.
Yeah, well, we'll link your book in the description. Highly recommend you read it. First chapter hooked me. That James Bond story, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I could not put it down. So you did a really good job.
Thank you. There's a story where where I'm wearing my hat inside the clubhouse with Arnold Palmer, and he just undresses me for it. I had no idea. I had no idea I was doing something wrong. He says to me, "Do you wear that hat in your home?" And I said, "Yes, sir, I do." And he goes, "Damn it, stop doing that. This is my home, and a man does not wear a hat in another man's home. So show me some respect." I was like, oh, I just disrespected the king.
The king, yeah.
Oh, man, I was bright red, and that was crazy. Yeah.
Well, sweet. Thanks, Jay.
Oh, my
Appreciate
gosh,
it.
my pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me on.